So that's a brief introduction about myself. That's how I look with a little bit more hair on my head. Unfortunately, that's as much as is available as well. Born and brought up in Kerala, but in Mumbai since over a decade now. Close to 12 years of experience of being continuously thrown into the deep end of the pool. I'm sure you guys know more about it than I do. As he said, I currently work with CleverTap as a director HR, practically set up their HR function from the ground up. And prior to that, I was with Fractal Analytics, a leader in the analytics space. I was with them. I joined them about when it was about 300 people, and I was there till about when they had about 1,500 people on board. Before that, also experience stints with ICICI Prudential Reliance Communications, and strong believer of procedural justice. And as startups, I strongly recommend that you guys also go through Work Rules, a very, very interesting book by Laszlo Bock, who is the ex VPHR for Google. I'm hoping I've been audible till now.
Yeah, Sumit.
Great, thanks. Just checking in between. Okay, so I just wanted to spend some time talking about how HR as a function works across startups as such. But here's a question that I wanted to kind of throw to the group before, and I would love to hear some noises. Do you really think there is a need to focus in HR or not? Anybody thoughts, comments? I would love it if you talk on the mic, because since I'm presenting, I'm not able to see the chats. If you guys are typing on the chats as well. Any responses to the question? I'm sorry, am I audible? Are you guys able to see my presentation? Just a little confused here.
Yeah, hi, Sumit. This is Nishant this side from Team Vurious.
Okay.
And yes, we can hear you properly. And about your question that we actually need, a focus on HR, then absolutely yes. I think right now we are a very small team, so handling 5, 4, 10 odd guys is pretty okay. But when you're actually talking about scaling up, dealing with 200 or so different people, and then figuring out how to exactly manage them all, figure out, provide a single vision. So I think human resources is going to be the most important thing as you basically grow, and these are the people who are going to be having a direct impact on how valuable you are able to create the final value out of the company that you're actually creating. So this is something that I think about that. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. In my own words, I think you really don't have a choice. Depending on whatever scale that you're at, HR as a function is a continuum of sorts. The only thing is that who are the people who play the role is what actually differs as the scale goes up. And here is a journey that I've personally seen organizations do that, because I work closely with startups that are 4 to 5 people when I was Fractal Analytics, and of course now with CleverTap, I joined, it was about 80 people, and it's become close to about 300 people now. So typically, what I've seen is that HR scale is often a function of the founder's bandwidth across the startup scale as well. And if I have to look at it as a journey of how the role of HR, or who owns the role of HR, changes from scale to scale, it is often a function of, I'm so sorry about that. It is often a function of the founder's bandwidth as such. Now, again, there are 2 aspects of HR that I will call out here, which where the ownership changes as the scale. One is the HR strategy part of it, and then there is HR operations. And in early stage, pretty much founders play the role for both HR strategy as well as operations. And as you grow, you will see that most organizations, the strategy part of HR will still continue to be done by founders. Only it's when there is a certain operational scale that is required, that's when you typically hire the first person exclusively to look at HR operations as such, and you typically hire someone at a junior level, at an associate level. And then as you turn to Series B, where you have about 50 to 100 employees, that's probably where you'll get someone slightly more senior in HR, but you'll continue to have associates. And by the time you are a CDC and you're more than 100 employees, the requirements of the organization are so drastically different that you're pretty much, it's better off that you start investing in hiring a specialist, each head of HR, while continuing to build the team across functions. And the reason why I put it across these buckets is also because the challenges are quite different as scale happens. Some of you are already at these various stages, some of you may be already be seeing these, and some of these for you guys, it will be something that you'll see as you grow as well. So early stage, it's all about hiring, right? Hiring and basic compliance and operations. How do I make sure that my people meet requirements are met? And that's where I've often seen that some of the best startups, the founders are out there, the leaders are out there, and doing the hiring on their own. Uh, it is not because they're trying to conserve on cash or conserve on or being frugal, but it's only about making sure that the right people are on board as such, and that's why founders are leading it from the front. But as you grow up, the next challenge that you often see is then you start seeing clearly about two different groups of people. One is there's an old group that is come in because the initial founders had created. There is a certain culture that is formed, but as you grow, suddenly there is an entirely new group of people that have come in who bring in a lot more specialization as well, and therefore you will start seeing these cultural differences between the old versus new groups. And therefore the founders here, the focus of founders is more on communication and making sure that everybody is on the same page rather than focusing on frontline hiring as such, which leads to the next section, which is all about now the founders are no longer the people who are able to deliver on the people requirements. Therefore they have to start focusing on creating the next line of people leaders, because these people leaders are the one who will start focusing on the hiring, building their own next level of teams, and so on. And that's where you start needing someone at a slightly senior more person in HR who will come in and help devise programs, policies, and processes to build these next set of people leaders as well. And finally, of course, here the whole agenda itself is changing from how do we make sure that we have a certain group of people who are generalists that we hired early on. How do we get them to start focusing on being a lot more specialists? How do we get the entire organization dynamic changed to be more process oriented and to be able to meet the scale that is required of the businesses? There are also startups that I've seen that have blitzed through all of these together. So for example, Clevertap, when I joined 80, and within 9 months we scaled it up to 300. So that's pretty much you're jumping across all challenges. HR is always playing a catch up, and therefore if you have foresight that that's the kind of growth that you're going to see, it may be prudent to invest in the HR team much earlier as well. So these are some of the things and challenges that I have seen across startups, which is why I've recommended that there is a certain way that HR responsibility also differs at each stage as well. Does this make sense? Is this something that you guys are seeing for your groups as well? Would love any input, feedback, anything, any comments on this at all? Yeah, so the thing is, I have to keep shifting between screens to see the chat. So if there is anything that any comment input at all, then it'd be great if you could just talk out. So I'm guessing a lot of you are at the early stage level, which is up to 25 employees and all. And I see that there might be some questions related to those stages as well, and we can absolutely talk to them here as well. So this is just for me, for my essence from what I understood from Saurabh, is to just give you a sense of idea of what all is it that you guys will start to see as you scale. So I'll move on quickly. I don't have a lot of slides left. The idea was to, as I said, just to give you a flavor of what all things will happen as such, right? And here is some to pretty much to kind of give you some advice when you look at people as such. Early on, hire generalists. That's my strongest recommendation. Do not look at specialists right now. There'll be often so many changes that the startup itself goes through generalists will be able to quickly pivot and make changes wherever needed to their skill sets and be able to add a lot more value than specialists. So this is one hiring rule that we followed early on itself, even with CleverTap, Sunil, Suresh, and Anand, the founders. Often the early leaders that they hired were all pretty much generalists, even in each of the tech domains of general engineering, customer success, all of it as well. Interestingly, some of our best sales folks at CleverTap, for example, are people who have come in from a customer success background. They joined us in customer success, and they're also doing sales. And right now, they are some of our best salespeople as well. So always hire generalists. Never focus on getting specialists on board. They'll often limit you whenever you need to make changes in the whole startup journey as well. And absolutely hire for attitude, especially learnability. Again, early stage, this is what I strongly recommend. People with high learning potential are the ones who are able to quickly pick up new skills and be able to deliver a lot more value whenever the change is required. Early on, I highly recommend this. Have your values in place. This may seem like a typical HR gyan, but the reason why I'm saying is, as you scale, even if it's 25, 30 people, you'll start to see that there is a lot of policy requirements, process requirements that people come and ask you, and often you'll have to spend a lot of time debating about on what philosophies or principles do you base all of these policies and processes on. When you have values set in place, then the philosophy becomes very clear, and you're able to form all of these policies and the processes on these values, which allows for people to see that it is consistent everywhere. Having also the values crystallized also enables you to teach the next line of managers as well to what to look for in people. The principle is often very clear. The performance is the precursor to performance behavior. The precursor to behavior is values. So when you have identified a set of values that work for yourself, it becomes easier to set up the entire people ecosystem based on those values as well. It's an activity that I prioritize at CleverTap also as soon as I joined, getting the values early on, because it became easier to get the rest of the HR framework in place after that, because we did not have to debate about how do we set up policies or what kind of policies, or within policy what should be allowed, what should not be allowed. When you base it on, when the foundation philosophy is clear, then everything is pretty easy as well. And finally, take a first principles approach to HR problems. I've often told a lot of founders to delay hiring ahead of HR as late as possible. Predominantly what happens is we tend to bring in a lot of these pre-made solutions to problems at the probably the risk of screwing up my own career as well. But do not be afraid to experiment on HR problems as well. A lot of these startups are working on ideas that are absolutely new or out of the region. I think it should also be, you should also take the same approach when it comes to people problems as well. And finally, this is something that is more of personal advice. Practice frugality. At least the biggest advantage of having frugality in place is that constraint forces a lot of innovation at workplaces. So that's some advice from my startup experiences of both being HR business partner, head of HR, all of those roles that I've held for all of the startups that I've worked for. I understand there might be a lot of practical questions that guys have, and would love to hear some of those questions and maybe give some advice about what is it that you can do as well. So that's it from my end in terms of a presentation, and would love to hear people questions that you guys have. Oh, I see Saurabh has also joined. Great, Saurabh.
Hi, hi, Sumit. I joined a little while ago. Thank you so much for taking the session. And I guess all the points that you made were very relevant. And I would, as you were saying, that most of the companies are early stage companies here, which is true because we are an incubator. And at the incubator, by the very nature of where they are, there are some Series A companies which are dealing with the problem of old versus new, but most of the people are struggling. How do we hire? How do we attract? and how do we retain people? How do we sort of compensate people because we do not have deep pockets and we want good people? So that's, I think hiring stays one of the biggest challenges. Hiring and retaining good people, attracting good people is, I think, a big challenge for most of these startups. The other challenge which you could potentially talk about, since you're talking about great place to work, is the culture. As you said, some things around values, etc., and how do you go about building a culture. Most of the startups, because they're in such a firefighting mode initially or focused on building their products, they tend to get very transactional by nature, right? Here is the money, do the job and get lost, right? Sort of approach. And you are talking to all founders here on the call, right? So they know what I'm talking about. I mean, they're so focused on the short term, saying that, look, I need to get this done, and this is very important. So how do you, like, put the seeding, uh, thought, seeding, whatever those building blocks are, uh, to go about, building a culture, and how do you form a culture within an organization? And because my strong belief is that, again, people are not joining startups, people are joining these individuals. If the founder is inspiring enough, then people say, hey, I'm ready to work with you and chuck my whatever well-paying job or a stable career, but I'm ready to bet on you. So how do you walk the talk? I mean, it goes into the domain of leadership a little bit, which I also talk about to founders. But I think just about, overall, how do you build the culture and small little things that can help build the culture. I found myself advising many of these startups that I work with and talk to regularly, saying, simple things like, celebrate small little things, acknowledge people. You don't have to always reward them monetarily. People first culture. How do you do some of those things, right? So if you could even throw some light on what does it mean to have a great place to work? What is a great place to work? How does it get defined, and how would a startup sort of conceive in their mind? A founder should conceive in their mind that what would make me a great place to work, and it is that is going to attract people to me. I think that would be very helpful.
Understood, Saurabh. Let me start with the hiring piece first. So it's a very, very big problem, right? So that everyone is going through right now at this stage, especially at early startups. The way I look at it, early startups, founders don't have a choice but to tap their own network to get the initial team in place. Because at the early stage, it's not the company's credibility that is going to attract people, just like as you said, Saurabh. So it is only the personal, individual credibility that will attract people as such. So if you have to attract through your individual credibility, then the only option that you have is reach out to your network and then keep passing on the message. That's one big thing, especially if you don't have deep pockets or even decent pockets, if that makes sense. But otherwise, even if you have pockets to be able to afford a consultant or even job boards, as simple as that. Like job boards are not a really expensive option either. There are options like AngelList, iimjobs, or Hirist also, which are, it may cost you about 80,000 to 1 lakh a year to invest in. So even in those job boards as well, I've seen that when the job posting is from a founder of an organization, candidates are a lot more interested in engaging with them as well. So even when the interviews are led by the founders, that actually makes a big impact to the candidate. So if you're looking at hiring, make sure that you guys have to be at the forefront of all of it, and that's the only way to make sure that you at least attract people and then be able to engage with these guys. Of course, if you also have the capability, talking a lot about what your product or your company is doing about, and having a lot of thought leadership published in that space also helps build credibility for your product as well, or your startup as well. That's in terms of the whole philosophy as well. Transactionally speaking, there are multiple ways to hire, which you guys would know. If there are specific questions there as well, happy to help. Anything specifically for hiring that any of you have a question on? Okay, so looks like we have it right there. And the second part is, of course, a great place to work. I think it's a lot of things, right? I think for startups, I think the first thing that you can do is about giving a great experience to people, and it doesn't necessarily mean great experience like free food or great office infrastructure and all of that. Not necessarily, but there are very, very simple methods of making sure that the experience is different from a lot of other companies as such. The story that I would have at CleverTap, for example, is when Anand, who is the chief strategy officer, one of the 3 founders at CleverTap, would do is that typically when they would have an interview, they would make sure that all of the interview rounds happen very quickly, back to back itself, rather than making sure that, okay, the one round is over, go, then another round is next day, and so on. If they like the person, they will immediately make sure that everybody meets them back to back itself. And if they really like the person, then the offer is made right then and there itself. They would have a nice envelope ready with a nice letterhead. Everything would be pre-printed, and as soon as the negotiation is done right and there, they would immediately give the offer letter there, right there as well. Now, from an experience point, it's something a lot of candidates don't even expect. They would expect that the offer would probably take a week later, and think that, okay, that's pretty much what the standard is. But a simple thing like making sure that the offer letter is given right then and there itself can change the experience quite a bit, and that attracts and that adds to a lot of attractiveness of the organization. Now, a precursor to all of that is actually wanting to make sure that your people are taken care of as such. So it has to be in the foundational way, wanting to believe that, okay, you want to take care of your people. There are simple ways to do it, and prioritizing the fact that how do you take care of those experiences is very important. Unfortunately, it is. That's the reality about it. I don't know if there is a certain model or anything that we can practice. Everywhere that I've seen of precursors to great culture are people or leaders who believe that people are important and will go out of the way to make sure that they are able to give great experiences to people. That seems like maybe oversimplification of sort, but that's my take on some of those aspects as well. I don't know, Saurabh, did that make sense of what I was trying to talk about?
Absolutely, Sumit. I mean, you are the guru on this topic, so I would not hazard anything from my side. But no, absolutely, it made sense. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Sumit. Just
Hi, Arjun.
a rookie question. I mean, we are trying to hire our first developer, and we've put an ad on I've reached out to Network and put an ad on Naukri.com and so on, and we are getting some candidates also. But I mean, any checklist? We've had first round of interviews with a bunch of candidates, but we want to check out some more. And you just said that have back-to-back interviews with people, and then also when you realize, okay, you want to work with a certain candidate, even I'm wondering, even making an offer letter, we struggle with things like, where do I find a template for an offer letter, and then what kind of what are the next steps that what do I make him sign beyond a non-compete and an IP kind of a thing. I mean, any guidelines for founders who are hiring for the first time? And then what paperwork would they do, and where do you recommend getting a consultant in place who could do all this paperwork and so on?
Yeah, so this is pretty much going to be a learning journey. I absolutely recommend that given the context of your business, you should spend some time speaking to a legal consultant, especially on the people, labor lawyer kind of situation consultant. And I can connect you to some folks who can do the first round consulting for you to draft up your legal documents. That one-time exercise is important so that it protects you later on as well. That's one, absolutely no questions about it. They will also be able to help you with templates and all of it as well. So templates and all, the basic templates, you can always reach out within your network and you'll be able to get it. Happy to help myself as well. So that's one way. That's one reason why I'm here as well, right? So if there is any help that I can provide to all of you guys, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share some stuff that will help you get started as well. But what I can't help you is if there are certain clauses or additional details that are required which are necessary in the context of your business. That's something that I would always recommend do a one-time legal consultation as well. And unless there is a change in law, then most of these templates don't really need to change for quite some time at least.
So we're looking to hire, say, about 2 to 3 people in the next 6 months. Can you suggest a budget we should have in mind for these kind of activities?
2 to 6 people you're talking about?
2 to 3 people. 2 to 3 people in next 6 months. And then we don't.
Understood. First recommendation, I know you already did that as well. Don't use Naukri. I know you already did that. Naukri as a platform is not really great. We are HR folks ourselves, unless it's really mass hiring that we need to do. We are trying to move away from Naukri. I would absolutely recommend Hirist, HIRIST, or AngelList. Those are great platforms to get people as such. Now, what kind of experience ranges are you looking to hire as well?
So initially just a 2 to 3 year kind of a software developer, a young junior developer, but then in 6 months, then we would look for a full stack developer for whom we have a salary bracket of say about 12 lakh per annum. And then maybe an Android developer with some specific capabilities. And that also my co-founder says that even that's like a 12 lakh kind of a bracket. But the initial hire is like a 6 lakh rupee per year kind of a bracket.
Okay, so developer, I think those budgets seem fair. To be honest, you won't get obviously top of the line guys, but you will get some
budget. When I say budget, I mean the HR budget, like the consultant or things that go along with just the hiring, not the salary budget. Okay.
So if you're looking at consultants, typically, so there are consultants who the lowest that they operate is at about 8.33% of their CTC. If you're looking, there are also consultants who are focused specifically only on startups. They may go as high as 20%. Now, what is your flexibility is something that, according to your budgets, you should be able to figure out. But a reasonably good, decent consultant, you're looking at somewhere about 12 to 15% of the CTC on the consulting side as such. But if you have the time, there is nothing like posting the ad by yourself on a Hirist or AngelList. Hirist, as I said, is about a 1 lakh a year membership. With 1 lakh, you actually get IIM jobs and a Hirist together. And that gets you about 1 lakh, and you would be able to get a lot more candidates, and the returns become easier also because you can continue to use that platform for a lot of your other hiring requirements as well. Of course, this is if you guys have the bandwidth.
Okay, thanks.
Sure, Arjun.
Hi, Sumit. I have a question.
Hi, Anush Krit. Sorry if I get your name correct.
So you mentioned about learnability, the part of learnability in which a candidate you have to assess. So I wanted to ask, like, how do you know whether the person is willing to learn just by seeing their resume or just by interviewing them?
Yeah, so there are two methods, two things that we look out for. One is as part of the interview process, we typically like to also ask them what are the failures that they've encountered and what have they done after the failure as well. So that's one where we're trying to put through that. Second is, as part of a lot of the interviews, we also like to make sure we throw a really tough challenge or problem at them. We are sure that they may not be able to crack it fully, but what we do during the course of an interview to see that is the person willing to ask for help or willing to admit that he is not sure, in which case, if we give him some clues, how is he able to react to it as well? Does he take those inputs and then actually apply his mind and then work around and be able to arrive eventually at the solution or not? Those are two things, practical things that we have seen, we have used as such.
And there's another question which I think Arjun asked in one of the webinars before. that there are some individuals who would come right now in a startup and work in a startup, and as soon as this recession thing or COVID-19 thing gets over, they will go back to big corporates and join them. So how do we have to tackle that, or how should we know that this person might be that kind of a person?
Yeah, so typically the thing is that you're trying to get the same answer through multiple questions. So things like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What are some of your career goals? What are where do you see, okay, so what is it that you think, how is it that you're able to add value? All essentially point to the same answer. Having a mixed couple of questions to judge whether the answer is consistent kind of helps you understand if the person is consistent or not, or is just trying to impress you. So you'll have to probably look at that. Otherwise, if somebody is well prepared and is ready to flip through, unfortunately, Anushka, you really won't be able to tell either. Those are some unfortunate realities, and you'll just have to see through it.
Okay. That answers my questions.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
Any other questions the group has?
Hi Sumit, I'm Rakesh here.
Hi Rakesh.
I'm from your home state, actually from Kerala. We are a cybersecurity startup. So we have you mentioned about developing a formal, clear policies right from the start. I mean,
no.
In our organization, we are just 6 people right now, and maybe next 6 months, hopefully if things goes right, another 2-3 guys may join in. Still less than 10. So the basic culture here is totally what you call this, not organized, kind of informal relation that is happening in startups. So at what point of time do we switch to this formal kind of a policy making and stuffs like that? How do we
yeah got it. So Rakesh, I think I might have been misheard when I mentioned last time. I'm saying it's important to kind of understand what values do you group as a group stand for, more than the policies. So when you have those values clear early on, then the policies, whenever you need those, then it becomes easier to put that in place. At this stage, even till the point you're even 40, 50, you really don't need a lot of policies and processes other than the ones that are legally required. Like for example, once you cross 25, there will be certain labor law requirements that you'll have to follow, and you'll need to put in some policies in place of it. For example, prevention of sexual harassment. Once you have about 20-25 people in place, that's a policy you will have to put it up. So it's more about the other policies. Let's say you want to put an attendance policy, right? Now you'll have to sit and identify, and actually you'll have to discuss with your leaders about what kind of attendance policy do we want in place. Are we okay with being flexible, not flexible? Do we want everyone to come at 9:30? How do you take those decisions? So when you have your values very clear from the initial stages of your business itself, then you can spend less time debating on how you arrive at those policies, and it will be easier and faster for you to just quickly get into a policy as and when is required. That was the whole gist of it. I don't recommend that you have focus on putting on policies right now. Just make sure that only employment letter is in place, that is legally valid document, and especially protecting your IP. Some of the other formal policies you can bring in much later.
So that brings another question which you explained. So our legal barrier comes at 25. Is that the figure that we need to keep in mind?
So it depends on each policy. Unfortunately, you will have to. So depending on each labor law, they have what you call given different barriers to different. So each of the laws have different barriers. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Like registering for a Shops and Establishment Act, it's about 10 people. POSH is about 20, 25, and so on.
So it's better to engage a third-party HR consultant at this stage itself.
I would recommend engage a legal consultant who will ensure that legally you're protected with, including HR as well as other business IP related, policies as well, not just only for HR.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sure, Rakesh. Any other questions?
So, Sumit, one question from my side.
Yeah.
Manvinder. Yeah. So, if you can just mention few best practices that startups should follow in order to retain good employees in terms of retaining.
Okay. It's the ability of the founder to share the vision with the team. Nothing else. If the founder is not able to effectively share the vision with the team and is not walking the talk, as Saurabh says, that everything that is what he does or what he or she does, sorry about the part, whatever that he or she does is not in line with the vision, and then we have a problem. That's when you'll see that a lot of attrition happens. Otherwise, typically what will happen is that if the founders and the leaders have strong vision and they are walking the talk, you will not start seeing attrition at least until the team has reached 50 plus size. At 50 plus size, what you'll see is that you'll start to have specialists on board and generalist people who enjoy the early spirit of startups. They'll start getting bored and they might want to go to a smaller startup again. Otherwise, it's only about your ability to communicate your vision and making sure that everything that you do is in line of that vision. And be transparent, guys. It's very, very important to be transparent. It's a very small group of people. Everybody needs to be on board. So while there might be one or two founders initially, treat everyone like the original founders group. That'll be the best way that you can engage those folks.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Manvi. I saw there's a question that came in the chat. What compensation options can we put in front of new people joining the team or even the founders if you're short of funds? Options are the best. Options are the best option. Equity is the best option that you can offer. So, but ultimately, we see the point is that a lot of folks that join early, again, I would go back to being very, very clear about your ability to convey the vision, right? A lot of the initial folks are going to just join you on your personal credibility or your ability to engage with them on the vision. When that is strongly done, then people I've seen a lot of people take pay cuts to join startups, and of course, equity is just a sweetener. Equity at those early stages don't really mean anything till there is significant traction also, right? So in terms of compensation, absolutely. If you're looking above CTC, then equity is the best option. Nothing else matters other than the vision, transparency, and then of course some money to send back home and equity. Do not even think about having variable pay and bonuses component and all later. Again, I would go back to frugality on that point in time. Unless and until the business is able to create capacity for itself to pay out bonuses, don't even look at bonuses or variable pay packages early on. Only base pay and equity. That's the only option that you guys should be looking at. Happy to help, Sean. Any other questions, guys? Yes, Manvi?
And with one more question.
Yeah.
So, just want to know your thoughts. Like we used to advise our startups, like whenever they are going to onboard any new developer or any person in field of marketing, let's say. So they always say he is asking for a position, let's say. So we ask them not to give a good position in terms of like CTO or whatever. maybe you can start with them as a project manager or something. So what are your thoughts on this? Is this a good thing to start with, or do you think giving a position is a good to start?
Yeah, at early stage, if I understood, these are all what 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 founders. At that stage, if somebody is coming in and asking for a position, then yeah, I think you've already hired the wrong person. Sorry to put it that way, but that's a reality. Nobody joins it at this stage to really look for a title, right? Title is fine. It's nice to put up on LinkedIn and all of that, but everybody knows that at this stage the title is only because it's a small group. But if somebody comes and asks for a title, then you're probably already hired the wrong guy. Don't even bother with titles. Those are not the priorities at this stage for your organization. Titles and levels only come at a stage where people now want to know what else is in it for me. How do I grow? When you hire people at a junior level and you want to show them progression as to how they can make a career out of working at your startup, that's when titles and levels come in. At early stage, if people are coming in, you should just tell them, we don't really have a title for you right now. Right now, everybody just does everything. The only positions that are probably matter is the CXOs levels, but that's because it's more of an external requirement rather than internal.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. I mean, even at Clevertap, even now, if people come in and start debating on titles, then we tell them, sorry, then this is not the place for you. We pretty much have a flat structure, and titles are only of an internal fitment more than anything else.
So any other questions from the startups? Yes, so I think, Sumit, we don't have any more questions.
No
We're
problem
done with
at all.
the answers.
These are my contact details, my email, my contact number. Anytime you guys need any help, feel free to just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help all of you guys as well. Whether you want me to network with anyone, or if it is you need some advice as well. Manveen, if you want, you can also share it with them. Email ID and contact number, anything that you will need. Happy to help you guys.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining, Sumit. Thanks for sparing your valuable time.
It's a pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Very informative session.
It is my honor. If Saurabh asks, I'll never say no. Happy to help all of you guys. Hopefully it was of some value, and all the best to all of you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, guys. All the best.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Take care. Thanks, startup, for joining. Thanks a lot.